I'm Mark Staples, and I am your host for Charter's Local Edition, a series of interviews with Montana government and legislative leaders. And our guest today, at the third day of the Montana 2015 legislature, is Tom Richmond, the representative from HD 56 in Billings. Tom, welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
First term?
First term.
First experience in the Montana legislature?
Well, I've been coming to the legislature for a very long time as an agency person.
Have you? What agency?
I worked for the Board of Oil and Gas Conservation for 32 years.
Aha, so you're very familiar with the process.
So my first legislative session was the 1993 special session, where the horizontal drilling tax incentives were first adopted.
So you were outside the glass, now you're inside the glass.
That's correct.
Let's talk about it. What are your particular areas of interest besides representing Billings?
Right.
With that kind of expertise, did you get yourself on some committees that deal with those issues?
I'm on House Federal Relations, Energy, and Telecommunications.
Perfect.
And so my interests, of course, are energy and natural resource development.
Well, let's talk about that. Are we doing enough of it in Montana?
Well,
too little, too much?
We've been doing reasonably well for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
The oil price downturn, of course, is going to affect the level of activity everywhere.
Do you think that's long-term or short?
Well, it's always a little hard to predict that, and I don't have a very good crystal ball, but...
Got a lot of geopolitical...
There are a lot of implications, and there are an awful lot of things that can affect oil price that are largely beyond the control of anybody in the oil business.
Particularly in Montana.
Or anybody in government, and in Montana.
Well, now, so your background was in that field for the association, or were you personally in that business?
No, I am a graduate petroleum engineer. I went to Montana Tech.
My hometown.
And ran across a few of my old classmates, as the case might be, gather here at Helena to talk to legislators. So.
Well, I understand one of the alums of Montana Tech is now the CEO of ConocoPhillips.
I believe that's correct.
A kid from Great Falls.
Yep.
That shows you the value of the Montana education.
And I'm a kid from Great Falls, too.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
So, are you going to carry any bills?
I have about the maximum number of bill drafts I can have, considering when I started. So I have about 7 bills.
Tell me 2 major ones.
Well, I would like to establish a permanent plugging fund. Plugging to plug old wells, abandoned wells, orphaned wells, and do reclamation on well sites. And I would like to see the Board of Oil and Gas have a substantial plugging fund that they can use as they need to respond to emergencies, plug orphaned wells, to take care of problems as they crop up.
Of course, the thing up here is always the cost. And
it's always the cost, and it's revenue neutral because the board has a priority in a grant program for about $600,000 and an appropriation of $50,000, and that's all I've asked to have appropriated is what the board already receives.
So I always ask the question of myself and others, okay, who are your natural enemies in the forest for that proposal?
Well, the grant programs are run by the state bureaucracy, and they control how the money is handed out and what the criteria are for qualifying for the grants. Now, the grants are in statute. They have to be granted, if you will, but the board has to spend a lot of time and effort, its staff, to
Do you have to get in the budget?
You have to be in the budget.
Are you in the budget?
Yes, long-range planning has the money in the budget already.
Well, so in that case, usually if you're in the budget, then the administration has given it its blessing.
Correct.
Well, so this might not be that heavy a lift, or of course you never know what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable until the last day.
What else you got?
I am also the president of the Yellowstone Amateur Radio Club.
Are you?
And so I have a little amateur radio bill. We seem to have a little bit of a tax question over whether or not certain amateur radio equipment should be subject to commercial taxation.
And I assume Your answer is it should not be.
You can correctly assume that.
And are there those who think it should be?
Well, it cannot possibly have a very big fiscal impact.
No.
There aren't that many amateur radio repeaters in Montana to start with.
Right.
And
there's no revenues from it.
And there's no revenues from it. And amateur radio operators are forbidden by federal law from using their radio licenses for any commercial purpose. They cannot accept any payment whatsoever for using the radio. So they are really non-commercial. We're just kind of making sure that the statute correctly reflects the restrictions on the amateur radio licensing.
Well, Tom, it's your first session.
It is.
And you got a lot to learn and a lot of people to meet, a lot of issues to delve into. 90 days from now when you're driving home, what do you hope to have accomplished in your first term?
Well, I hope that we have managed to preserve a good, solid climate for our business interests, for our resource extraction industries. I hope we've done something for Montana families that are concerned about where state policies are taking some of our institutions and some of their school children, and I hope to accomplish some things for my district that I know that they're interested in, and we're looking for a bill to help move some discussions along. And
Well, wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I know you're busy running around, getting acquainted, meeting committees, and have a wonderful session. And I'll visit with you at the end of 90 days and see how it all came out for you. Yes. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Mark.
And thank you for tuning in.